Now, one real surprising piece of data that we got just this week is that there was a huge jump in the amount of sales of brand new single family homes, which is kind of unprecedented. Brand new single family home sales went up 20.5% in August compared to just 1 month before in July, which brings it to an annual seasonally adjusted rate of 800,000 homes being sold for 2025. And that pace of new home sales is up 15.4% from just 1 year ago. And even well-known economists and well-respected CEOs are kind of raising their eyebrows at this information because it looks very suspect. Oliver Allen, who is a senior economist at Pantheon Economics, says that this is inexplicable, and he's questioning whether this spike accurately reflects demand or is it going to be revised away in the coming months, which is probably the more likely scenario. And it's not just him saying that. Lance Lambert, who is in charge of the Resi Club, I'm sure a lot of you real estate people know who he is. He says that most of the monthly census home builder reports have a margin of error around 10 to 20%. Often, really big 1 month swings in the data end up being data noise. The best way to read this data is to take each individual monthly report with a grain of salt and zoom out and observe the trend. So if it can be a 10 to 20% margin of error and new home sales are supposedly up 20.5%, that essentially means that entire increase could be an error. We'll have to see once the revision actually comes through, because even Buddy Hughes, who is the chairman of the National Association of Home Builders, says that this month's figure may be subject to a downward revision. We do expect a general improvement in sales in the coming months, supported by the recent decline in mortgage rates. Yeah, well, okay. We'll see about that. Maybe it's not going to be because of the decline in mortgage rates. It's going to be because home builders are offering tremendous incentives still, and a lot of them have been lowering the prices. According to a recent National Association of Home Builders survey, 37% of builders reported cutting prices in August, and 66% reported using sales incentives. So I do believe that some of those sales increases are actually legit, because for the first time ever, a brand new home will cost you less than an existing home in America. And when you combine that with the fact that you can get a mortgage rate buy down and a lower price and free upgrades to the home, it's kind of a no-brainer that buyers are choosing to buy a brand new home. So it's almost as if all of the home buying activity, if these numbers are even half right, is shifting away from buying existing homes to exclusively buying brand new homes. And some of the sales data is supported by the fact that inventory has now declined for the third straight month in a row to about 490,000 brand new single family homes for sale that are in all stages of construction, which is 1.4% lower than the previous month, but it's still 4% higher than it was a year ago. And as the current inventory stands, we have about 7.5 months of inventory on the brand new housing market, which still means that this is a buyer's market if you are looking to buy a brand new house. It's also a buyer's market if you're looking to buy an existing home as well, guys. It's just that home sellers have not caught up with these trends just yet. Some of them have, but a lot of them haven't gotten the memo yet. And one of my viewers who lives here in the Bay Area in Healdsburg, Simon, he sent me over a couple of real life examples of brand new construction homes in Healdsburg, showing the difference between builders that are serious about selling the house and builders that aren't. And these lessons can be applied to existing single family homeowners as well who are looking to sell. Here's an example of the first builder. You can see the picture of this home, very beautiful. And they listed the house for $2.475 million about a year ago in November of 2024. They got an offer for $2.3 million, and then they sold the house. There was no back and forth. There was no putting it back on the market and let's see if we can do better. None of those shenanigans. And they ended up getting the house sold as of January 31st of this year. So the house was on the market for barely even 2 months. And they took a 7% below asking price offer, and they got that house sold. Versus the second home builder, we can see that this house was listed back in April of 2023. That's right, 2.5 years ago now, for $2.85 million. They have had price reduction after price reduction, and now their most recent $100,000 price cut brings them down to just a little over $2 million. So they have had to cut the price 27% from the original asking price, and the house is still unsold. Versus if this seller would have been more realistic from the beginning, or accepted some of those in-between offers that they likely got, probably somewhere around the 2.3 to 2.2 million mark, they would have sold this house already over a year ago. But this is the perfect example of what happens when you get greedy, guys. And that's where so many home sellers are sitting today. They are sitting on the greedy side of the fence, which ultimately means more and more price reductions and not getting the home sold. And you end up losing money, not to mention all the carrying costs that you have for that house all the time that it's for sale, instead of just taking what it's worth right now and getting your money and running. And that should be a good lesson for anybody who does get an inherited home that wants to sell it. Remember, guys, it was never your money to begin with, okay? Your parents or your rich uncle, whoever it was, passed this house down to you. You got it for free, okay? I'm not saying you should give it away, but what I am saying is if you're somebody who wants to take the money and run because you don't want to deal with the hassle or you can't afford maintaining that house, you better make sure you list it at a fair price, accept a fair offer, take your money, and move on. The last thing you want is leaving that house on the market for a year or longer, like the example we just showed, and then you end up getting a significantly lower amount of profit in the end because of all the carrying costs associated with the home. And the data backs up what I'm saying, because if new construction is moving as much as they say it is, if it actually had almost a 21% jump in just 1 month, I'll tell you what's not happening is existing home sales are still completely stuck. And that is proved by the most recent report from the National Association of Realtors, okay? Take a look at this chart going all the way back to 2021 of total existing home sales. And you could see for the past 3 years in a row that existing home sales have been extremely low. Right now, they're sitting at just barely 4 million seasonally adjusted home sales for the year, which is almost the lowest point that it has been in the past few years. You can see by looking at this bar chart here that only over the past couple of months, total existing home sales were positive month over month. But for most of the year, they were negative. And even in August, it was also negative. It went down 0.2%. And to further back up what I've been telling people about home prices and how median home prices are not a reflection of what's going on truly in the market, take a look at this. The change in the amount of sales by price range. What do you notice? On the lowest end, there's been a massive 10.5% decline in sales. Only once you go above the $500,000 mark, home sales start to noticeably increase year over year, which means only people who are buying $500,000 or $1 million plus homes are the ones who are really buying houses right now, which is no wonder median home prices are continuing to go up.